This is an opportunity to introduce everyone to Becca Eversole Robinson. She's our new transportation planner, and I suspect as we move forward that Becca will serve as the alternate for our voting position. And this seems like a good meeting to kind of get her feet wet. So, thanks everyone.
Welcome, Becca. I've already added her to the list.
Welcome.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. Good morning, Doug.
Welcome, everybody, to the December 16th staff work group meeting.
All right. How's everyone today?
And well,
Good, and yourself?
Doing all right, ready for these holidays.
I think we all are.
Great. Well, let's since we're all virtual, let's call roll or let's go through. I'm Doug Plachinsky with the DCHC MPO. Darlene, do you want to go next? I don't know what everybody's order is like on the screen.
All right. Do you want me to just call out, say the person's next for you, Doug? Or based off my screen or your screen?
I was just gonna say introduce yourself and the next person. So I don't know how you guys want to handle this.
Darlene Weaver, Orange County. Meg?
Hi all, Meg Scully, Go Triangle.
Ashley?
Ashley Wimby, City of Mebane.
Josh?
Josh Smith, Town of Chapel Hill.
Steven?
Steven Schlossberg, Tax District Administration, Go Triangle.
Emily?
Emily Ange, Orange County Transportation.
Caroline?
Caroline Dwyer, Transit Planning Manager, Chapel Hill Transit.
Paul?
Paul Kingman, Tax District Administration, Go Triangle.
Jay?
Jay Heikes, Transit Service Planning Manager, Go Triangle.
Austin?
Austin Stanion, Regional Technology Project Manager at Go Triangle.
I think that's it. Did I leave out anybody? I think.
Matt Eford, Town of Hillsborough.
Sorry, Matt. Thank you.
yes, Orange County.
Tina Moon with the Town of Carrboro.
You had already introduced yourself with Becca.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes. Austin Stanion is here and would like to give a project update for Go Triangle on the regional tech plan and on fares, the return to fare effort.
Where would you like that to be on the agenda, Meg?
Honestly, now would be great so that he could leave, but if you want to stick with the general agenda during project sponsor updates is fine. So your call.
Well, why don't we go ahead and just do that right after public comment before we get into the administration.
Awesome. Thank you.
We'll go ahead and amend the agenda that way. Are we aware of any public comments received or anyone who's on this meeting?
None received from the administration, staff work group administration that I'm aware of.
Okay, great. Then we'll go to amended item 3A and receive an update on the regional technology issues from Austin, as well as the return to fares.
Thank you, Doug. Hello, everyone. For those I haven't met, I'm Austin Stanion, Regional Technology Project Manager. I've been at Go Triangle a little over 2 years. And two quick updates. One is on the Regional Technology Plan, which kicked off in November and involves stakeholders from around the region, all 3 counties, Many of all of the transit operators in the region, as well as a number of the cities, the MPOs, NCDOT. So really a collaborative effort guiding technology coordination and investments for the region. So as I mentioned, we kicked off last month with our regional stakeholders and our technology consultant AECOM. The regional technology plan has a budget of $250,000, of which 10% or $25,000 of support is coming from the Orange County Transit Plan. This funding was approved in the FY25 budget. The 6 major focus areas of the regional technology plan are passenger real-time and trip planning, transit service planning tools, transit signal priority, and specifically around BRT investments that are happening around the triangle, including in Chapel Hill, regionally integrated payments, regional GTFS publishing standards, and an open transit data portal. The tech plan process is on schedule to deliver initial technology recommendations in spring of 2025 to inform the FY26 budgeting process. Please reach out to me if you have any questions about the regional tech plan, or if you'd like to be added to the regional technology working group, which meets every other Thursday. Are there any questions about the tech plan before I move on to return to fare updates? And I know a few of y'all sit in on the regional technology working group and have been involved in this process from the beginning. So thank you to everyone who has been participating. Moving on to fares, you may be aware that on July 1st of this year, Go Triangle returned to collecting fares. I'm going to read through some of our high-level stats that I think give a good view of what's happening in the world of fares. I'm also going to paste it into the meeting chat. That might be an easier way for some people to process the information. But we had a promotion back in July to get people using our new mobile ticketing system. They could get free rides in July. And we had almost 45,000 rides from over 6,000 riders during that time. And then over the past few months, the boardings or taps using UMO. UMO is our mobile ticketing system. Riders can pay either with a physical card or their phone. And they can use their Go passes. They can pay with their own money, all with this one integrated system. Also works on Go Raleigh, who returned to fares at the same time. In July, we had 52,000 rides. In August, we had 71,000 rides. September, 86,000. October, we had 103,000 boardings using the system. And then in November, fell slightly to 89,000, which is kind of in line with our ridership every year during the holidays. The Thanksgiving holiday, we see a dip in ridership. So, you know, the high-level story is that the adoption of our mobile ticketing system we saw rising every month until November. Then dropped a little bit, again, expected due to holiday drop in overall ridership. Of the riders who are paying fares, we've seen that 94% are using the UMO system, the mobile ticketing system, either a card or an app. And about 6% are paying in cash when they board the bus, which we're really proud of that level of adoption. It's rare around the country to have that level of technology adoption. And you know, it helps us. You know, we don't want to be collecting cash, but it's also a benefit from the riders. They get to benefit from programs including fare capping, which I'll get to in a moment. Of the riders who are using UMO, about 65% are using the mobile app, 35% are using the physical card. We really had a big marketing push to encourage the mobile app, but the physical card is available for any rider who prefers using the physical card over the app. But the app does give riders expanded choices. They can load money into the app. They can activate benefits right in the app itself. Registration by program. So I do want to highlight our TAP program. I ran this data about 2 weeks ago. So These numbers have increased in the time since, but almost 4,000 registrations of our TAP program, which is it's called the Transit Assistance Pass. It's our low-income program for riders who qualify for Medicaid, SNAP EBT, or have a household income under $35,000. This program was part of our mitigation program for return to fairs. Our board directed us to develop a mitigation program for low-income riders, and we developed this alongside Go Raleigh as the regional low-income program, and we're very proud of the participation that we've got from the program. And there's a number of other Go Passes, and I think most relevant for Orange County, the UNC Go Pass at that time had 6,400 registrations. Again, now that has increased. And then other major universities in the region, other employers, government offices. Some of them are getting lumped into all other Go Pass. Some of the smaller partners got groups together there. But when we returned to fairs, we also relaunched our legacy Go Passes as well as some brand new Go Passes like TAP to really give as many options as possible for our riders and also find revenue sources working with major partners in the region like the universities. As of 2 weeks ago, there were 19 organizations participating in the Go Pass program. We add more every few months. And then finally, I do want to highlight fare capping, which sort of works like a daily, weekly, or monthly pass, but riders don't need to buy it ahead of time. They benefit from it as they go. So a rider will never spend more than $80 in a month if they're using the mobile ticketing platform. Once they hit 80, they're capped, and every ride after that is free until the end of the month. So of the riders who don't have a pass or benefit, which is about 34% of our riders, 34% of the riders who pay as they go benefited from fare capping. And of those riders, they saved an average of $16.50 monthly, which, in transit plan terms, $16 doesn't seem like a lot of money, but for a transit rider, getting capped out at $80 a month and not having to spend an additional $16 is a real impact and something we're very glad to see and very proud of that our riders are getting that benefit. So that's it for me. I'm happy to answer any questions about fares or our benefit programs, and you're also welcome to reach out to me after if you would like to discuss further. Thank you, everyone.
I have one thing. I know with the TAP, when it comes to for the lower income, do you really have a tracking mechanism? How is that? I know are y'all waiting till like a certain time frame where you give feedback about that?
So we are currently working on our TAP evaluation. We are engaging a consultant and bringing in stakeholders from around the region to work on our evaluation program, to dig into who's using the program, how is it benefiting them, how is it changing their behavior. We do have survey data that sort of right now about I think 40% of our ridership is using the TAP program, and we have survey data that does back up that number to show that I think 40% or higher of our ridership is under $25,000 household income annually. So the number of people who are participating in the TAP program is consistent with survey data we have about the income of our riders. And the TAP evaluation will, I think, set standards for the future and how we monitor the program.
Hey, Austin. So
Yes.
I know you're like the technology czar here in the region. And quick question. So what was interesting stat was the 94% UMO, 6% cash fare or submission like that. And I guess I'm curious, because I also know there's CAT AVLs and trapeze and things like that also keep track. But I would assume we could really get good trending of ridership trends and things like that from that information, right? Like we could probably drill down by time to kind of see, are people holding back on Wednesdays and Thursdays? Is it ramping up on Mondays and Tuesdays? I guess my question more regionally, for anybody who is kind of doing the UMO, so this is a little outside of Orange, but I think it's good to have this discussion here. Are we able to kind of get those trends to kind of put it together in a regional aspect? And then, you know, for a group like, say, Caroline, of you and Josh in Chapel Hill, you know, you don't have the fair, but do you have the data, or even I know, Nish, you put in for trapeze. Do we have the data where we could kind of combine things together to really make regional trends of what's going forward? I assume UMO is the easiest thing for anybody who's signed up, and 95% of that would really be helpful. So do you understand my question at a very balcony level?
I think so. I'll answer from the UMO side, and then I'll let Chapel Hill and Orange talk about their CAT AVL capabilities. And I think the heart of the question is ridership behavior. You know, when are people riding? You know, what are the valleys and peaks? What days? And we do get very rich data from UMO on, and it's currently it's route level data. So we know what routes riders are taking. We know when they board, you know, what time of day, what day of the week. And we even have usernames of riders. So, you know, we can kind of see an aggregate, you know, an average person, how many times per month is a person riding? You know, how does that look differently if they're a UNC rider versus a TAP rider, that sort of thing. So we do get very rich data from that. And then we do have our automated passenger counters on the buses. That's not tied to our fare system. They're, you know, devices above the doors that record when people enter and leave. And I imagine the other systems have similar devices. So those do count passengers, but there's a lot of processing and rounding involved in those counts. So we don't have as granular of data from our passenger counters. Right now, it's more monthly boardings by route, and it does break down, you know, weekday versus weekend. We are in the process of with our TripSpark implementation of being able to slice more thinly that ridership data to look, you know, at specific days, potentially even time of day. We're not there yet, but we are moving towards that process. And I'll let Chapel Hill and Orange County talk about the ridership counting they have.
Sure. Yeah, we utilize an automated passenger counter system that is uploaded it's integrated with our CAT AVL system, and then it gets processed by another organization that we contract with. So we have pretty robust data at the route level, stop level, day, time, month, you know, it can be aggregated lots of different ways. The only thing we don't have is because we don't require people to pay or, you know, scan something to get on board the bus. We don't have like individual specific or like rider specific or demographic information without doing like an onboard survey, which we do every couple of years. So that data is definitely available. It's, you know, and we provide it in lots of different ways to lots of different organizations already. So, you know, if there's something specific you're looking for, we can kind of just add that to the list of our monthly or quarterly or annual data reporting processes.
And here for Orange County, we have our ridership data is we're using Ecolane right now and UMO. I mean, we have some data from those two sources, but hopefully when we start with I know you mentioned TripSpark form of Trapeze. We'll be working with them, finalizing the contract right now to get that process started and hopefully be able to improve our data collection, data resources regarding ridership through that process. We have full ridership data for, just a comprehensive general ridership data for our fixed routes, demand response, and mobile on demand. So hopefully with that TripSpark, we'll be able to improve that process going forward. But Right now it's through Ecolane and UMO, so we really appreciate those resources, but hopefully improve that process going forward.
And Steve, I think something you're getting at is how can we kind of put this all together and glean information and inform decisions. And I think through the regional tech plan, one of the 6 priority areas is an open data portal. And I think this would be a really great opportunity of, how can we share our ridership in a standardized format, maybe, ridership by route for all the different transit providers. So it's really easy for any of us or even the public to go on and see how do these different services compare, and where's the ridership, where is it growing.
And can I just to add, is this also this ridership data? Is it also coordinated with the NTD data that we report as well? I mean, there's a correlation that the NTD data matches the ridership data, so that's something we use right now. The ops desk data that we report to NTD and stuff. So that's our main resource right now to validate, because I mean it's also being used for our county as performance measures for our transit service. So going forward, we'll be using that as improving our performance, measuring our performance going forward. So that'd be really great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Austin. I think that exactly you kind of hit on the head with where I was going with that. So I appreciate that. And thank you, Caroline, and thank you, Nish.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much for that update. Next is the October.
All right, yeah, we'll move into the October minutes. There any comments on the minutes? Any change requests or a motion to approve, please?
Question, these say September.
Yeah, it looks like that's just a typo in the heading.
Okay.
We'll change
So
it.
we'll,
Okay. I will make a motion to approve pending the update.
great.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. We have a Q3 annual work program amendment request to release for public comment.
That's ours. Do you want an update or a summary or?
Sure, please.
Sure. It's pretty straightforward. So this is, hold on, I'm going to sneeze. Sorry. I think maybe not. Okay. There was some work done at the intersection of North Columbia Street and MLK and North Street, which is just north of downtown Chapel Hill, over the last year or so. And one of the improvements is that there is going to be a new signalized intersection. NCDOT has informed us that the existing protected crosswalk that is just north of that area serving the 2 bus stops in both directions right near Chapel Hills Town Hall will need to move. And this is asking for some funding. We don't have any in the budget anywhere to basically install some curb cuts, essentially. And then our Public Works is going to put in some median, some modular medians and relocate that flashing beacon that's there to restore that protected crosswalk for those transit stops that are pretty busy. And this work is being done in a way that it will align with the BRT project. So it won't require a reinvestment. And basically it's just construction costs, $17,000 for those curb cuts or curb ramps, sorry.
Great. There are any questions about this request? Now's the time to ask. If not, or after questions, we can get a motion to release for public comment.
Yes, you recommend release for public comment.
Great. Motion by Orange County. Do we have support?
This is Jay. I'll second.
Support from Jay Go Triangle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we have a release for public comment. Item number 3 under administration is the project sheets, amendments, and global agreements action.
All right, so when it comes to global agreements, we do have Hillsborough and Orange counties done, but we still don't have anything from Chapel Hill or Carborough.
Ours is done. We sent it to Go Triangle. It was fully executed.
Thank you.
Yep.
We
I'll
are in
send
the,
you. Sorry,
sorry.
go ahead, Tina.
I was just gonna say, we're in the process of working ours through DocuSign. It's, our effort to standardize our agreement process has actually made things more complicated in the short term. So we're working through that.
Okay.
Great, and I know I need to get you ours. So,
Yes.
Go Triangles are all square.
Steve, Meg, Jay.
Were they sent
Okay.
over? I'd have to check back with legal to know.
Okay, well, we'll assume it's in process. Okay, is there any action other than that beyond the update that we needed?
No, I really just needed an update on the process of that.
Okay, great. And what was the next item on the agenda?
We're still on the project sheets. So when it comes to the project sheets, I sent out the project sheet. It's for operating and for capital. But one thing I wanted to mention that when I checked some projects are new. And when I checked the transit plan from 2022, some of the projects were not in there. Some of those projects was not in there. Right?
We
And
had a
so,
few that weren't, and we made a note where those were new projects.
yes, and I know you, Tina, you had some as well. You had 2.
Yeah, our projects are actually, one is a project that was in the 2017 plan, so it was automatically continued that
Okay.
we simply hadn't submitted for funding yet. And another was one of the unfunded priorities, but it was identified by reference in the plan. So
In the
I think
2017 plan?
in the updated one that Caroline's team prepared, it's listed.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see it, but I'll go back and look at the 2017. I did check the 2022.
Okay. And if you need, I'm happy to provide like a reference to those more clearly if that's helpful.
There was something in here for Go Triangle. I'm gonna have to try to find it again where I'm in a meeting. Well, they can't shut off the breaker because we're in a meeting right now. Everyone hold please. All right, we're still good. Sorry, they was shutting off the breaker. He was trying to let me know. We still have power. Okay. So did anybody have any questions or anything that they saw as far as the project sheets right now? When I sent out the packet?
I don't have any
concerns?
questions. I think I
Okay.
just would want to see, and Stephen, I see you popping up. I would kind of want to see the, how, if and how these fit into the financial projections. That would sort of just be my desire.
Yeah, so hey, Caroline. So that's a good question. So I know that we're still kind of pending a full authorization from the county to move forward. I know that Darlene has been working with Priscilla on the FY26 plan, but we have the CIP and the multi-years been out there. It's on SharePoint. It'll be out there again later on if nobody's seen it. But before we kind of model things out, I know we didn't meet last month I believe is when we probably should have gone through the projects that are make it. So we could model it quickly from what I don't know if it's stale numbers. Things look like they match, but I haven't gotten validation from the county that everything was in. And in regards to that comment about missed projects, I'm not sure I understand that. I'll defer. Sounds like Caroline, you and Tina and Darlene are on the same page on something, but my understanding is on the CIP and the multi-year that we use, so things like the Route 400 connections, things like the Route J, I believe the Route D are still listed. So I'm not sure what projects would have been missed that would have been in the 2022 plan, except for something that we would have, as staff working groups, said we're not moving forward on that. So
we don't have
I'm
anything
kinda
missed. Yeah,
It's
so we don't have
nothing
anything missed. We have asked for, I guess maybe you'd call it an amendment. There's some funding that we wanted to move around a little bit. That's in projects right now that was out, already sort of earmarked for things. And then I think there was one that we are asking for a new project that has not been included in the transit plan. So we would need an approval for that.
Yeah,
Well, that's the
that's
kind
what
of
I was talking
information.
about. So
Mhm.
Caroline, she was just moving money from other projects except for that one. And then for the one for Tina, I saw two under the capital, and it was two I hadn't seen before, but she just explained to me that it was in the 2017, and I looked into 2022.
So that's the kind of information we still kind of need. And, Caroline, specifically for Chapel Hill, one thing I know, I reached out to Travis. I know in his new role, I'm not sure how hands-on he is with this. But we still assume debt for the BRT in
Yes.
2028. And the question is that getting pushed back? Are we still okay with that number? Just kind of leave it going. And, that's really just the final validation, plus obviously the information from the county that's needed to update the model. But I can't tell until I get any information, my gut is things will fit. But again, if there's new projects that have been submitted or new monies that moved up, that's something we need to obviously get from the county and make sure that.
I did
works.
provide Priscilla everything that I had, and she provided that sheet with the summary, and I think that's what Caroline is looking for. Do you mind sharing that, Steve? If I unshare my screen?
The only thing that I know that Priscilla has is what was on SharePoint as a consolidated model, but it sounds like there's more stuff that is
That information that I just told you is actually on there because me and Priscilla had already talked. I'm just
Okay.
bringing it up in the meeting for everyone's situational awareness. So what
Okay.
Caroline was talking about, her moving her money, and as far as that new project, Priscilla has that information. The same thing with Tina. They both uploaded all of their information on the SharePoint.
So
And
you're
me
only
and Priscilla talked. We talked as well.
so these are only FY 26 impacts and possibly future years, but nothing, Caroline or Tina, nothing that you're asking for in 27, 28, 29, anything like that.
We do so again, there's a couple things. So there are not, I don't want to say like impacts per se. We're asking for money to be used for different purposes, but it's the same amount of money. Does that make sense? With the exception of one project that is new that we've requested funding for, and I don't remember now how many years, if it was 1 year or more than one. But in terms of our existing projects, we didn't make any changes there. There's no changes to assumptions for things like BRT. Let's see if I can find it. Can't find it. Oh, these are capital. Sorry, I'm in the wrong projects.
So I guess my question then for you,
I'm about to
Darlene,
try to pull it up now. I'm on the portal. I'm gonna try
well,
to
I
pull
guess the
up.
question then for you, Darlene, would be anything that's new. I would think the staff working group should probably discuss if we should approve it or
Yes,
not,
I
rather than
agree.
just, rather than
Yes.
just blanket statementing. So that's what I thought that we were doing today.
Steve, quick question.
But I'll
Yeah.
go ahead.
Do you have a financial model run of all these new projects yet, or are you still waiting on a go from Orange County?
We were waiting for the official green light from Orange County, but at the same time, really, we thought, I guess because there was no meeting last month, but staff working group should vote on any new project rather than, just kind of say, okay, everything is good. So I figured this conversation was going to be, you just said Tina had a couple of new projects, for example. So like, does the staff working group think that that's the right path forward? And then we could turn around the model to say if it works or not. But, what I would have expected was something from the county that said, okay, for example, 201 West Connector. I'm not sure anybody here has seen anything about that. Kind of similar to what Caroline just said with her amendment. So that's what I thought we were kind of doing today.
Okay, so this is from the Go Triangle SharePoint. So when you're looking, I pulled this up, yellow. This is the TAP program. So this is kind of new. When it came to this right here, the Go Triangle bus stop and property maintenance and operations, we're not sure what that goes to. That is something that maybe Jay or Meg can speak to. What is this?
Yeah, certainly.
So the tap,
I can,
is
Meg, I can
not
speak
new.
to, I think the question is on the second one. I think they understand TAP.
I understand TAP.
I can speak. Okay, thank you for confirming. So the second one is, if you recall, Go Triangle submitted a fiscal year 25 Q2 amendment that the staff work group recommended. This is for property operations and maintenance associated with both transit plan funded property, which will, and also bus stop upkeep, maintenance, amenity or asset replacement and renewal. This is a request that's consistent with how we handle property operation and maintenance in Wake. And then we'd also made this request in Durham. So following the approval by the Orange staff work group, the Durham staff work group wanted to approach this as a fiscal year 26 work plan item. So to be consistent between Orange and Durham, we withdrew the fiscal year 25 amendment request and are instead submitting this as a fiscal year 26 project. Sorry, there's a lot of explanation. So that's where it came from. What it is property upkeep and maintenance. And then the other piece of this is the funding from this would come from the closeout of the DOLRT closeout project, which has primarily been used in the last several years to fund property upkeep and maintenance. But the thinking is, rather than limiting those dollars to just the DOLRT properties, that we would spread those across other maintenance and upkeep needs in Orange County.
So this is more of a capital project.
So it is currently a capital project. The DOLRT closeout is, but the request is to convert it to a operating project, which is a benefit to the transit plan because the capital is all 100% carryover. Whereas this is operating, that any balance left at the end of the year returns back to the plan.
Okay. And this is what Caroline was talking about. So I'm aware that her two right here were already in the plan from 2022. And this is, I think, Caroline, is this your new one?
That's
is your
the new one. That's right.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And we requested 4 years of funding for that.
Correct. That's her new one.
So Caroline, quick question with the Route D, because I know, I believe Ellen asked a similar question about this. So is the assumption still going to be for Durham to keep it in 27?
Yeah, we're not, I mean, nobody's even reached out to us. We don't have a cost share agreement. I don't think there's any way that it's feasible to implement that. And I needed to get back to Ellen because she had reached out to me too about that.
Right. Yeah. I think if anything, Ellen's thinking of pushing it down.
Yeah.
But, but at the minimum for both Durham and Orange, we'll keep it in 27.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I'm aware of this. And this is, if I remember, for Go Triangle, this is one of y'all new projects. But I think it was like a carryover or something, and I had read from something from earlier, and I think it was in the 2022 transit plan, correct, Jay?
That's right. This
Okay.
is a, there are two capital projects in the 22 transit plan. And what we've requested is that those be considered as one project. So that project, it included $1 million in fiscal 26. We're requesting for $500,000. We also know that Chapel Hill Transit is taking a broader study of BRT and transit reliability infrastructure within Chapel Hill Transit service area. So Caroline, Paul, and I will be in touch on how we coordinate these two activities and make sure we're not overlapping.
All right. And these two are what me and Tina was talking about, this 203 connector sidewalk and the West Main Street sidewalk. So Tina, you're saying those in the 2017 plan?
The West Main Street sidewalk was one of the town's original cluster of plans, projects that go way back, before the forms. And has been carried over. We just haven't asked for that money before. And then the 203 connector sidewalk has been, was identified as one of the unfunded priorities in the latest plan.
So was it in the you told me, is it the 2020? Because I didn't see it in the 2022. So are you saying, is it in the 17?
No, the 203 connector is in the 2022.
Okay, I'll go back and check. I didn't see that one. Maybe I just overlooked it. And these are for Orange County, the trapeze and the mod. And y'all know that we moved the money from one of the projects from our transit plans, not one of our operator plans, and that's funding for that one time. And we're in the process for the trapeze. I think Nish, isn't it supposed to be done this summer for trapeze?
Yeah, both those projects will be done hopefully in the next few months.
Your volume is low.
Yeah, hopefully both those trapeze and the mod vehicle purchase will be done in the next few months.
Okay.
So Nish, is that incremental new money?
No.
Let me clarify. I think last year, I think Q2 or Q3, we did an amendment to change some of the operating to these two projects. It was either last year or the year before. We just now got the project.
200,000 for trapeze, right?
It was an amendment. It was we're part of the quarterly amendments. We're simply trying to complete that project because we amended it once and then we amended it as we amended it as an operating, then we amended it as a capital because they would carry over the fiscal year because we didn't get it started last year. We're starting it now and getting it completed. So these two are capital projects.
So Nish, I guess my question is, last year you did an amendment for 200,000 for trapeze and 250 for 5 vehicles that would have rolled over from last year to this year, kind of like the discussion we have with the group. So this is another 250. So the trapeze is
no.
So these should be removed then.
So these should be removed. Got it. Understood.
Okay. Got it.
So that's kind of why we didn't want to model things out because we weren't kind of sure on this.
Yeah, just got it. Understood.
Okay.
Stephen, I just sent you a summary via email that very clearly describes the changes and not changes that we're requesting. So the things that are remaining the same. And then there's a couple projects that we wanted to combine into one project, just to give us a little bit more flexibility for how that funding is used, and because we haven't been able to use it. And then there's a couple that are, like I said, moving money to different projects, money that's been allocated mostly for operating projects that we are unable to implement that we still would like to use for other things, but that we can use right now. And then there's one brand new project that is not at all reflected, and that is a one-time $200,000 project.
Okay, yeah, and again, that's kind of we'll look into it, but I know we kind
Yep.
of based on the way lead agencies and stuff, that's kind of the county. But let me ask you this, just because I'm staring at it right now, Caroline.
Mhm.
So I assume you don't want another 8 million, right? So that should
No.
go off. And the 1,350,000 is the debt. So theoretically that should be
Yes.
removed, I guess. What's those vehicle acquisitions?
Hold on, let me take a look. Hold
Unless
on,
you're
hold
asking
on.
for another 1,350,000. Actually, that looks like the debt.
No, so that's the 1,350,000 is just the anticipated BRT for the 27, right? Like this project sheet, the way it's written asks for whatever you're anticipating to, pull down in the next cycle.
I guess but you're not looking. I guess my point is, if you're not looking for any funds this year for BRT, there should be no project sheet.
Well, I mean, we are going to be using it.
You're going to be using it, but you're not requesting. This is all for just brand new money.
I'm not sure what you mean requesting or use. Like, what do you say requesting? What does that mean?
So right now you have $8 million that was adopted from FY24 and before.
Okay.
Right. So what I'm looking at now shows that you're asking for another $8 million.
No.
Right. So
Yeah.
nothing should have been, and maybe this was a message that was conveyed incorrectly.
Okay.
With conversations, I guess, with the county or whatnot. But the only reason a sheet should have been submitted is if you're requesting FY26 brand new incremental funds. So if
Okay.
you need to say another 2 million for BRT
No,
to make
we are
10
not
million.
doing that. Yeah.
Right. So I guess my question
okay.
for you is, I think the 250 and the 50 is similar, right? You've got
Yes,
those approved
rolling
previously.
over, unspent carryover.
Okay,
Yes.
exactly,
Mhm.
right. So that
Yep.
should not be on this list. But now, what about the 2 million and the 137? I don't
Okay.
seem to recognize those numbers.
So the 2 million was unspent carryover from FY25. Wait, hold on. Where are we? Yeah. Okay. So here's what we wanted to do. There were two separate projects. There was a midlife repower that was approved for FY26. And then, sorry, hold on. There's a repower that we had already put in the plan from last year. That's unspent carryover from FY25. And that was
That was 209,000.
right? And then there's funding in FY26 for Route NS vehicles. We want to combine those two projects into one vehicle acquisitions project. Does that make sense? This is in that memo. So I think if you look at that, it'll make a lot more sense. Similarly, there's two projects like a bus shelter lighting and a bus stop signs, right? So see that bus stop improvements, it's the last one in blue there, 137,889. Money that's already been requested, just asking to combine that into one project.
So what you should do is the sheet that was submitted should have been 2065267 minus 209,684. So that's the new money you want, right? So it should be like 1,857.
Yeah, whatever the FY26 project amount was. Yes.
And then the 138, what it should be is 138 minus 53,000. What is what you have left? So that's what the amounts should be. We'll circle back with you.
Okay.
I'll work with Paul. Paul Kingman. Priscilla's out.
Okay.
I'm not sure why these sheets are in this, but I'll work with Paul Kingman to circle back with you. But the way I'm reading this is line 6. So the way I'm reading this is, let me go back. 59.
This
60,
might be my fault, Steve, because I was under the assumption that we had to submit project sheets for projects that had a change in scope. And when I requested to combine them, I felt that my interpretation was that was a change in scope.
That's true. It should be a change in scope, but it shouldn't have a dollar impact.
I see. Okay.
So it should be on this with zero or what the amount is. So that's a good point. So if your short range transit plan update has a scope change, that should be 0, but it'll be attached because of the scope change.
Okay. I think if you look at the memo that I sent you, it'll make more sense and we can figure out what needs to be zeroed out and what should have money attached to it.
Okay,
so,
but just so everybody knows, I think what I'm getting from this is 59 and 60 will be zeroed. 61, 60, and it could be scope change, so I didn't read it. 61, 62 could be 0. Yep. 63 is 0.
Yep.
64 goes down to like $1,008,000.
Yep.
But then the tax district will work with Chapel Hill to combine into one project.
Yep.
And then line 65 is going to go down to around 80,000. Okay.
I think, no, that should also be zero because I think we've already been allocated that funding for those bus stop improvement projects like many years ago. This is just combining two into one.
I don't think so. I think you only have 53,000 available. So if your goal was to have more than 53,000.
I don't think we've
Then-
spent money on either of those projects.
Oh, really? I have the lighting
Yeah.
and bus shelter. I have
Yep.
53,148 is left.
And then there's also a bus stop sign and design replacement. There's two projects that we wanted to combine into one.
Okay, I have 0 for that. That's
Oh, we
left.
haven't spent that.
It looks like I'll check the FY24. This is Paul Kingman at Go Triangle. I'll check the FY24 reimbursement because we're showing $84,000. 741 was paid to Chapel Hill, but I can
For
double
bus stop
check.
design and replacement? Okay,
Yeah.
let me look
Yeah.
at that too. If so, then yes, Paul, or Stephen, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, and then the question for you then, Caroline, is do you need more money or did you just want to combine it?
The only thing we need more money for is that one that's in yellow in line 66. That's a brand new
Okay.
project, never reflected. That
Okay.
is the only thing that is in here that is not already that has funding that is not
Right.
spoken for in some way, or
And
has already been.
64 is programmed in the CIP, but not adopted. Part
Right.
of that. The
That's right, part of
1,857.
it. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yes,
So
sorry.
I get it. We'll circle
Yeah.
back with it.
And likewise with several of the operating projects, there's program funding for, I think, like the D, the NS, those all
that's
have
all in red.
operating.
That's in the
Okay.
MIOP. Yeah. I think where the confusion came was obviously if there was a scope change, putting the dollar amount again.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I guess I could see that happening. So
And that was my fault. That was,
No,
I
no,
did,
that's fine.
I prepared those sheets, so that was me.
okay, no, that's fine. And so we'll kind of scrub that down, Paul Kingman and myself, and then and then the scope thing obviously we'll leave to the county on how they want to show that,
Yeah.
but at least financially. And then what we could do is obviously run the models to make sure things work. But
Yeah.
that being said, Darlene, I don't want to take away because I'm sure maybe people want to ask Caroline what the fast charges are and whatnot.
Yes, this is the new project
That's
that
right.
we were both talking about that I was aware of.
Yeah, so we have, I think 7 more battery electric buses arriving in FY 25, 26, and we're kind of maxed out on our charging infrastructure here right now. So this would be a request for a one-time $200,000 allocation for up to 6 chargers, DC commercial fast chargers. If we ever get those electric vehicles back on the road.
And then the Hillsborough, these are, I guess they're carry forward. I mean, I see only one town of Hillsborough project that existed. It had like 416,000 left. So I guess my question, Darlene, or anybody here from Hillsborough is, are we not asking for any new money and we're just rolling the 416, or is this, it was only one project, so.
The train station is already there. The train station is already funded. It's just there. I think Matt can talk more about the train station and stuff, but that's already funded in the transit plan. So is the bus stop improvement that goes with the train station. The other is a new one, the Ridgewell Greenway.
It looks like Matt's
Nish,
already
I
hopped
think
off.
Matt just left. What
He
is,
just
what is,
left.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
what
I
is
just saw
the
that message. I
Greenway?
just saw the text, yeah. The train
What is the-
station is a committed funded project in the previous.
no,
transit
the
plan.
Greenway. What is the Greenway?
Well, actually,
project?
Meg, if you don't mind, before the Greenway, because
Okay.
again, I see 2 projects here for that combined for 750,000. And if my math is correct, that they had one project, which was 2018 Hillsborough train station, that has 416 left, because I think they took some money from that.
Okay, I wasn't
So-
sure. I'll go back and check with Matt in Hillsborough because the train station is a separate project, and I was looking through some records that the other is the bus stop that goes to that train station. That was a 33,000 one. But I'll go back and check and confirm that. But I think those are the already funded projects. The Ridgewell Greenway is the trail that connects this train station to downtown. And that was a new one, because that's something in the plan, it's in the short range transit plan, in the, not the short range, but it's in the plan, it's new, something that I'm trying to coordinate with them, and that was just a generic number that was put on there. I'm still trying to coordinate with them as to how much and pursue is one of the new projects. It's the Ridgeway Greenway is a greenway trail that connects to that train station to downtown.
Does the transit plan pay for greenways? I just don't know.
The transit access, this is part of the transit access to that bus stop that's also there. But again, it is a new project.
So I guess that's.
But I'll have to
something that-
coordinate with Hillsborough as to how much they were seeking for it. That's something I'm trying to coordinate with them. And we're also working on a raise grant for that whole thing. Hopefully the raise grant will cover in the future, but
Okay, so just to kind of level set for myself, because obviously before anything gets adopted or approved, we obviously, as Caroline said, we need to model it, but it sounds like some people are on different pages here, so I don't know when everybody's trying to release things, but long story short is, Nish, you're gonna circle back on the Hillsborough.
Yeah.
Again, I'll look to Paul Kingman, he can send a quick email, but my understanding is there's like 415,000 left that the town of Hillsborough gets for everything. So if you take every project, they only have 415. So the question for them is that all that that it's a scope change, and as Caroline said, and it's only the 415. We're gonna remove, we'll write some of this up. We'll remove the two from Orange
So,
County.
a quick question. So, one quick question. The Hillsborough can probably be lumped up into one, but that's something I'll follow up with Hillsborough on, so it's not an additional one. Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Right. Okay. And then the question, I guess, is you're gonna circle back with the group before anybody even votes to move forward on the Ridgeway Greenway?
Yeah, we'll circle back. I think we may have to do a special subcommittee meeting in January after the holidays are over and get everybody together before we start releasing, because I think there's another part of the schedule is.
And Darlene, remind me of the timeline of when we're trying to release something to the public?
End of January.
February. The January is finalizing and writing the draft annual work program, and February is the release.
Okay. So what I would recommend is on the county side, try to have everything locked down in the next week or so, and then it'll give the tax district time to kind of model and make sure we don't need a choices and trade-off meeting. Because when you add $1 million here and a couple 100,000 here, all of a sudden the excess liquidity, yeah.
Understood. We'll get together in January.
Yeah, it would be really, I mean, to Caroline's point, I think it'd be really helpful for Carrboro to get a sense of the model. There might be one project where we might ask for a little bit of additional funds if those funds are available. We're trying to be frugal. So
I think the amendment process helped us do that. I think the amendments, when people do net and no financial impact amendments, that taking money from this project and putting it into that project, the amendment process has been very helpful in that.
And just as a reminder, on SharePoint, there are, MyOps, COps. What I'm going to present next is on SharePoint. So you could just go on
and sharing my screen. You about to share?
No. We don't have time for this. Just if you have an issue going on SharePoint, let myself or Paul Kingman or Priscilla know, and I'll and we'll go through. I think what I'm going to show next will probably also help Tina's question. But all this information, including the current MyOp and CIP, which would include the information that Caroline is showing, for example, that $1,350,000, it really is an FY28. That'll be listed on that. So if we need to then circle back on January, I could spend a couple of minutes on that. I just don't want to use up the time now until people at least look to see if it's, if they understand it. So, but it sounds like on this part, we're waiting until January for obviously the county to get their ducks in a row, and then we're going to model things out.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Go back to that.
Are we going to look at operating also?
Yes,
Hello?
everything.
Okay.
Yes. So we're
Well,
gonna
that's-
circle.
Yeah,
Go
the
ahead.
last sheet you had, no, the last sheet you had on had all the operating. We kind of, I think,
Yeah, the last
Um,
sheet I had up had all the
yeah.
operating and it had the capital on everything.
mhm.
We went over all of that.
No, I think we need to look at the operating. I think there's some differences
Okay.
between what's on it and what's in the SharePoint.
Well, I got that from the SharePoint. Let me bring it back up. That's on the SharePoint. That's on your SharePoint.
Yeah, anything in yellow was adjusted, Meg.
Right.
So if you go to
There we go. Here go
operating,
operating right here. And this is on Go Triangle SharePoint. And this is the final copy for right now.
so
it
the
will be
reason the
submitted.
tap is yellow is because it was over 2.5%. Everything else was consistent, I believe. I'm not sure the red. So. So anything yellow is like a brand new project or increased by 2.5%.
And what's the blue coding, Steve?
The blue just the 2.5% consistent, like year after year. So for example, like Caroline has her 90,000, not hers, but Chapel Hill's 90,000 was the FTE that they had last year. It looks like we're adding a new project implementation staff request for 90,000. Though Caroline, that's kind of weird how it just disappears in 30 and doesn't grow at 2.5%, but
Yeah, I mean, we're just asking, we're hoping to establish it so that we can fund it internally is the idea.
Gotcha.
You know, it's,
Okay.
that's kind of where we're at with that one. I mean,
Okay.
we can increase it to 2%, but you know,
no, that's fine. Whatever you think
okay.
is
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Jay, to
it's,
your
mhm.
sorry. No, I was gonna say, Jay, to your point, the only things to really kind of review is the yellow.
And what's the white coding?
I think that's just they didn't put the blue on it, honestly. Because it looks like everything from there is
This
2.5%.
is what Priscilla posted. I didn't
Yeah.
post this. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just pulling from
Is
there.
there, if you scroll up or down, is there a key?
Yes, this is the key.
Okay, revise. So blue, should we be reviewing the blue ones too that are revised?
I don't think those are all revised requests, though. That's why I would have to speak with.
Well,
I know
I would say
Yeah.
I would say this. Some of this was Caroline, like some of the stuff that she had was already from an amendment. And this is Caroline's regular stuff that she normally has. These are. This was an amendment that she did. The bus stop technician, that was an amendment, correct?
Yeah, so again,
Uh-huh.
Steve, this might be the same thing as the capital one. So what we've done here is the HS and the CW, the FY26 funding, we've reduced to half a year versus the full year. And then we've reallocated that funding to other projects. Likewise with the transit planner and the bus stop amenities technician, those we've asked for additional funding for 4 more years, but that has a $0 fiscal impact because of the reductions to I think it was like the NS ops, the D, the J. There were a few that we're not going to be able to implement in 26. Does that make
So
sense?
that's why the CW route goes from 102.7
That's right.
to 210.
Yes,
So you
because
took
26 is
that-
a half year.
So you took that 90,000 to offset either the new position or the transit
Yep.
planner. Okay.
And we did that with, I think, also those yellow ones, the NS. See, there's no funding in 26, but it
Mhm.
was originally allocated for 26 in the annual, or in the transit plan from 22.
And I just want to reiterate, like, so the tax district puts this together, but we look to the county to verify that it makes sense and works. So I'm sure Priscilla was kind of leaning on the county to make sure that things are copacetic on it. So Jay, to your question, we would have to circle back, but it sounds like the operating is all here, but it sounds like the color coding just went awry.
Yeah. And do we know what the red is? because if folks have questions on those projects, I'd certainly be happy to address them
Well,
either
I
now
think
or following this meeting.
when me and Priscilla was talking, I think she increased this because of the dollar amount. If I remember, y'all used to have like a 405 route, and I think that got combined with something or eliminated. Which one was it?
Yeah, so that was with the 400. So there used to be a
Right.
separate 405 project, but that was rolled into the 400 starting in 26,
Correct.
or will
And
be rolled
so,
in starting in
yeah,
26.
will be rolled in. So I think this has something to do with the price increases. You'll have to ask her specifically on why she put that in red.
ODX and CRX, there shouldn't have been changes compared to FY25. What was programmed in the 25 work
My
program?
thinking, Jay, is it was probably off slightly. It was probably like at 2.3%, and this was 2.5% or something. But
Okay.
you know, to your point, I think that the at least the bottom line, it sounds like the operating is what it is. So we theoretically can model the operating. The question to Meg's point is, do we want to discuss some that are adjustments here?
Steve, this is Paul Kingman. I had a question on, I have like 3 programmed one there for future years, like the Go Triangles route 400, 405 phase 2 starting in FY29. Should that be in here? And then
No,
the
that-
BRT debt service, should that
Yeah,
be
so
in?
those wouldn't be in here. Those would be online on the SharePoint on the multi-year and the CIP. These are just
Okay.
projects that start in 26. So theoretically,
Okay.
even Route 34 and 35, I think you know, Caroline put it there because she didn't want to lose visibility. But realistically, that shouldn't even have been there. Like there was no need to have there was no need to even have a submission for that. But that's just to kind of keep visibility. But again, the CIP and the MyOp, they should be on the SharePoint. If not, we'll make sure that'll have all the information. So Jay, to Paul's point, the 400 expansion, say in FY27, or the route J is another one that's not on here. That's going
Right.
to happen. Those will be on that sheet, so everybody could take a look.
Nish,
I think we've been on this for a very long time now, and
Yeah.
we can get into the weeds more and more. I think it's best if we just put together a workshop in January to finalize all this stuff. I mean, we can be here all day if we want to, going over all these individual projects and things. So we'll try to work.
Going into that workshop, and perhaps before we model it, Nish, I'm hoping you can explain the significant cost increases on rows 37 and 38. I see those in FY25 in the multi-year continuation of transit services fixed route. That was modeled as,
but that's not what I submitted to
159,
her. I think that's a
881.
mix-up. I think that's a
Okay.
mix-up. That's
Okay.
not what I had submitted. That's what's not on the portal. So
Okay.
I'll talk to her about that. Unless you have
Okay.
something, unless I'm off, Nish, please correct me.
We'll get that workshop together, and Jay will provide you that clarification in part
Yeah.
of that workshop.
Okay.
And we'll get that, we'll organize that. I mean, and try to be mindful of everybody's time, and I think this has been going on for a very long time, and I want to make sure we have time for it.
Well, it has been, but I want to make sure we have productive workshop going ahead.
this has
So
been a
it's
productive
those
meeting, yeah.
two. Yeah, if you could help clarify what those costs are, and if there's a corrected version somewhere, that would also be helpful.
We'll do, absolutely.
Thank you.
And Jay,
It's
just
on the
so,
portal.
wait, just so to understand too, you know, I guess I kind of missed that too, but those are big numbers. So if I'm not mistaken, like the 900,000 and the 76, so those amounts would probably break the model. So I think we need to get those even locked down before like we even model things through.
I think that's an error.
Okay, so Darlene,
That's a
we'll
error.
look to you to make
Yeah, I
sure
know
that,
that's the error. That's not what's on the thing. That's an error.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, even in the project sheet, and it doesn't match.
Right. If you look on the Go Triangles, I submitted it. That doesn't match that. That's why I say that's an error.
okay, so circle back with everybody after
Okay.
and then make sure we're on the
Mhm.
same page. And then maybe we'll send this out. Well, this is on the SharePoint anyway, but
It's on the
before the meeting,
SharePoint.
before the meeting, to Jay's point, let's make sure that we send out where it is and people have conversations, because we can't be here in January trying to think it through and have choices of trade-offs and try to have something published in January.
That's what I said. I was hoping we could put together a workshop prior to the January meeting. So it's a matter of what we do, whether we workshop the meeting.
And I'll send out a doodle poll. Yes, Meg.
Thanks, Darlene. Is somebody keeping track of all of these changes?
Yes, we recorded and we have transcript as well.
Okay, and then somebody's going to go through and literally check it all off so that we show up in January and they've all been made, like that we don't come back and then have to discuss them again. Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
It's making my head hurt.
All right. All right.
So are we good on all that and ready to move to the next discussion points?
Mhm.
The next discussion is simply a point of discussion. Mainly, it's the lead agency matrix. We've learned a lot over the past year in being staff work group administrator, and we're trying to hopefully find a way to help improve the process and coordinate that process a little more, especially when it comes to public engagement. That's why within the packet is a recommended update as to some of the lead agency stuff, and this is simply for discussion. We can have a further discussion in January. I apologize for getting this to you at the last minute and getting this packet out to you, but it's simply to start that conversation, and hopefully we can have a much better one in January to help share and improve the process.
Sounds
I
good to me.
have a question. Can I just ask a quick question? I was a little confused because I was looking at this and I had a copy of the lead agency matrix that looked a little different than the one that's included in here in terms of who's currently what? I can't.
A very short one. There's a very small condensed one. That's like one small quick table.
Nope. Nope,
Which
I
one
don't
were
think
you-
so. I think it's the one that I took out of the adopted, I guess it was in the ILA maybe. Which is why, like, some of the things that currently say in this version, if you scroll down like that, DCHC is managing, mine say Go Triangle or Orange County, which is why I was a little confused.
If I was looking at the
I can't hear you.
I was looking for the original one that I built that off of. I thought this was the last one that was approved versus the condensed version. I'm trying to find it. I think it was at the June meeting.
Nisha, you gonna share your screen?
I'm trying to find it first.
Okay.
Well, so while you're looking, so did somebody make changes, I guess? Is this recommended? What?
It's the recommended, the one on the top, on the right column, the recommended update is what was recommended. The approved lead agency matrix is what I was building off of. I think I found it. Let me share my screen real quick.
Okay, I'll stop sharing mine. Go ahead.
So just right off the bat, as you pull that up, I saw some of the recommendeds. And I think if there's a change from anything recommended to anything that's a dual task, that there be more detail about the very specific task or role that each plays, like whatever the thinking is. I think that all has to be described as well.
Okay, I can provide that clarification in addition.
Because I just see, like, I just know from so many things that if that's not clarified, it just becomes more confusing.
Okay, the one that you have up right now is the same one that I've been looking at. Now, can you scroll down to page, like the last page that has the like meeting schedule and stuff? Okay, so the one you have is what I have also, but if you look at the one that's in the agenda, all of those approved agency ones say DCHC MPO/SWG administrator.
Okay,
They're not consistent.
All right, I must use the wrong. That's my mistake. I'll use this one instead. This is the one that we have that's actually approved, and then As Meg said, I'll add more detail.
Okay, because I'm a little confused because some of these right now already have Orange County as the lead or the staff working group or administrator. That's why I didn't quite understand what we were being asked for. So I think it would be helpful to have a updated version to understand exactly what the changes are that are being requested. And then I also agree with Meg, just to understand better what the goal of some of the changes are in terms of who will be doing what.
Understood. I'll do that. I'll add more clarification to and use the.
Thanks, Nash.
Thank you so much. That's all I had for this item. We need to start that conversation.
Deb?
All right,
The last
so
one-
that's, are we headed to agency updates?
Yes.
All right. Not everybody at once.
Wait, hey, Doug, I was gonna give an update on Q1. Do we want to skip that?
Okay, we can. Do you need to share your screen?
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Okay,
I'll make it
Well,
quick though. Don't
go
worry,
ahead.
Doug, for you.
Please.
I'm willing to cede my time to Stephen.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, tell me if you
So-
see what looks
That was
like
one
kind of
extra
PowerPoint.
minute, Steve. One.
Do you guys see the screen? Do you see a green
Yes.
kind of PowerPoint thing? Okay, so here, long story short, Q1 results are in because we ended a couple of months ago. Just kind of go quick. So revenue, what we have here is through year to date September, we received 3 million of half-cent sales tax, which is 27% of the budget. So we're really on pace to probably meet or slightly exceed the 11.5 budget. The vehicle rental tax, as I mentioned previously, Go Triangle submitted 100% of what was the budget through to the Orange County. So that's why that's 100% paid off. The $7 and the $3 are coming in similarly at the same 20-something%. So everything seems to be kind of online with budget right now. Just to kind of show you step by step on years how we've increased on the half-cent sales. 22 was 9.6, 23 was 11.2 or 11.1, 24 we hit 11.5. So we, our budget for 25 is on par with 24. So we're hoping to be up slightly more, but the reality is, as people have seen, spending has kind of tampered down a little. So, now with the return to office, less people are buying like office equipment at home and chairs and things like that. And that's what really kind of helped these booms over here. So, we should exceed budget, but I'm not sure by how much. This again is through July through September. So this is all three of the first quarter months that are in. And that's what we've received at this point, because there's a 2-month lag for anyone new. So like Becca, there's a 2-month lag on half-cent sales tax by the time we get from the Department of Revenue. Registration fee, very consistent year over year. People get cars, they register it. There's no kind of rocket science to it. The reason 21 was a bump is during the pandemic, the North Carolina State Legislature allowed a 6-month moratorium. So a lot of people took advantage of it. My car's registration is actually due in December. I would love that this year because I have 14 days to get it inspected and renewed. But that being said, a lot of people took advantage of that this year, but it kind of fell back in line. So we kind of robbed Peter to pay Paul. And we probably should hit around the budget. Usually it's very easy to budget this amount. So again, 27%, and we probably will be around 370 and we'll probably be at 850. These are how we are doing from the budget. The budget obviously is full year budget versus 3 months of actuals. So this is what the submission is. This is obviously going to grow. Some of it is timing, as we all know. Some of it is, getting back on from driver shortages. Doug, give you guys credit. You spent a total of $403. So you probably spent that today just on this meeting. But this is based on submissions that we've gotten through reimbursements. So we still have a 4.9 million. As Jay mentioned earlier, the one thing that's good with operating is whatever this number is at the end of the year will go back to fund balance. Capital, this was the budget for last year, so we budgeted these amount of projects that should be recognizable. Here's the 4 million that we just talked about with Caroline. This was the carryover, the actual carryover from year over year. So this is some of like the trapeze project. This is how we knew off the top of our head what monies were available. But as I see here, 9 million of previously adopted is part of that. So the total amount available was 14.4, and a total of 269 has been expensed. Part of that is probably because of obviously agreements and just people are not spending right away. These are the financial update reports. So this has by project, line by line. So going back to the conversation we had, here's the operating. We've reached out to all you guys to kind of get an idea of where we are with the projects. So green means it's scheduled, completed. There's a lot more detail in the SharePoint. Red means not started, and there's a whole rainbow in between red and green. I think purple somewhere. That's actually probably under red. But similarly with capital, very similar, shows the origin of the projects. Part of this is the 9 million. This goes back to what I had that conversation just now with Tina. This shows the projects that you have that you carry forward. So we have still funds available for the Estes Pike Pad, the transit corridor, the Greenway here, the South Street. So these are all what was your carryover and amendment amount. And this is what you've asked for in Q1. And this is what is currently remaining. So again, if you go on SharePoint, you will see this. You'll be able to blow it up and get into more detail if you want specific by project. So Caroline, this goes back to the conversation we just had with the 53,000 for the lighting and bus. And then I know Paul sent something, but the bus stop design, we had 0 as carry forward. So
Yep, that looks correct. That was my mistake.
okay, yep. And then actually we probably need to switch these for Q2, so they probably aren't red. And that's it. So real quick, just for you, Doug, but any questions or comments? And again, that information is in SharePoint right now. All right. Thank you, everyone.
I had one question, not for you, Steve. Meg.
Yes.
I didn't get a chance to see what you posted in the chat about the global agreement, but I think you posted something.
I did. I checked with our legal team. It was executed and returned in October. Just the one global agreement from Go Triangle.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Those are the update. And
All right, then, you guys want to go through the local updates? That's great. Quickly, I've got to switch over to my phone for the rest of the meeting while I drive to the next meeting. So take it away. Whoever wants to go first, not Stephen.
I ceded my time to Stephen. We don't have any major updates.
All right, I see Meg's hand is up. Go for it, Meg.
I just wanted to share, we toured, my team took a group on a tour of Russ Bus, our HR department and whatnot, on Friday, which just made me think to let everybody know that we're still on schedule and budget with the Russ Bus construction. And so we'll be making our changes for our services that now dump into Raleigh Station to move on over to Russ Bus probably for August of next year. And that would be, like the CRX, for example. And we'll be working with everybody on that. That'll be a huge effort for engagement and whatnot.
Speaking of service updates, just really quickly, Go Triangle is advancing service changes coming in February of 23 or February 23rd. That goes to the board for approval in 2 days on Wednesday. One change that will look as a particular impact to Orange and particular benefit, that we'll look to this group to help us communicate our changes to Route 800 and Route 805. Consistent with what was in Go Triangle's approved short range transit plan, Route 800 would shift its routing to NC 54 between South Point and Regional Transit Center at all times. So that means that folks in Chapel Hill or UNC would have all days of the week a connection to RTP, to Hub RTP Box Yard, while maintaining that connection to Regional Transit Center. Route 805, which serves that section of 54 during peak periods, would truncate at South Point, but in exchange, that route would add midday and early evening service. Happy to share a link to slides for folks with more information, and I'll be sending an email as we get closer to that date, requesting folks' assistance in communicating that. Thanks.
Thanks. Definitely happy to communicate that through our comms team.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I was going to jump in here too and just say that we had a question from Michael Parker, and I know he's not on your elected body any longer, but just so you know, he might, who knows, he might ask you guys about it. He was curious. Good questions as usual.
Yeah.
Okay, Ashley, have a good day. So it looks like it's you, Tina, because Ashley and Matt aren't here.
Sure. Thanks, everyone. Nothing really, no real updates. We're continuing to move along, particularly with the Morgan Creek Greenway and the South Greensboro Street sidewalk project. We have a meeting with DOT coming up where we're going to try to get a better handle on how to proceed with the Estes Drive bike ped improvements. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, everybody. Hope you all have a wonderful holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll see you all in January or the next meeting or the next week if we ever see each other this week.
Thanks all.
Thanks all.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you, everyone.